Sometimes people acknowledge being codependent very lightly, as if it's just a small thing. And it's true, it's possible to be just a little bit preoccupied with another person and slightly lacking in awareness of oneself. But this cognitive imbalance can grow into a life-consuming monster, especially when it's combined with trauma bonding. Now, when love is given and taken away again and again, it can drive a person with codependent tendencies to almost completely lose their sense of reality. Has this happened to you? You lose yourself. When people ask if you're taking care of yourself, it sounds like dumb psychobabble. And you come to think that no one can understand the urgency and the complexity of this other person who keeps hurting you. And you have to keep secrets because you know on some level your behavior looks crazy to other people. And it feels like you're on a mission to break through to this other person. It feels like redemptive love is just around the corner if you could just get over this one last hurdle, their addiction, the fact they say they don't care about you, the obvious signs that their self-destruction or outright abuse will destroy your life and that it's in fact dangerous. You think these hurdles are just things other people worry about, but that you know better. And you think any minute now, the beautiful moment will arrive when all this trouble is cleared away and you can be safe and seen and cherished at last. And I know what this feels like, and I know where it leads. So I want to talk about the deadly mix of codependence and trauma bonding in the language that someone who's in the middle of it will understand. My letter today is from a woman who I'll call Casey, and she writes, "Dear Anna, for 1.5 years I've dated a man off and on who has a liquor/alcohol addiction." Got the pencil here. I'm going to be circling things I'm going to come back to. I'll read all the way through though so that we can just get a feel for what's going on with Casey, and I'll see if I can help. All right, 1.5 years off and on dating a guy with a liquor/alcohol addiction. However, he can still treat me horribly with beer, a lack of sleep, stress, or of lately, me setting boundaries as I learned to do. I've been putting up with it. The hot, cold, Jekyll and Hyde, love-bomby, discardy, quote, relationship, because he said things like, "You're saving me, you saved me, I want to heal you." Something that you, Anna, referred to in another video as exactly what the woman in that letter wanted to hear, and the guy knew it. And also, the guy that I like, says Casey, is so damn funny and intelligent. If only he could use his manipulation tactics for good, I hear myself saying often. I hear that you have a sense of humor in there, even if it's not funny. The best things he said are trumped by, "I want to beat you to death in your sleep. If I were to cheat, of course I wouldn't tell you, but I'd know." All of which he denies. "I didn't say that," he'll blast, followed by a 4-day rocky period from him if I bring it up. Due to my codependent and currently mushy and unsure nature, I'm still in the thralls of this person. However, it's getting worse, despite less time together, and his best friend in the whole world just had a seizure last week, and the CAT scan disclosed a quarter-sized cancerous tumor next to the most important life-giving nerve. He may die during surgery, which is soon. He may never speak again if he lives. He may never be the same, and certainly his family situation has already been drastically affected. It's a scary and sad time. However much I want to be there for my ex or boyfriend, very unclear here. However much I want to be there for my ex while he's there for his precarious friend, he has become increasingly hurtful, rude, and has begun throwing things like wrapped food, fiddleheads and wontons last night at me, yelling, swearing, and trying to really show everyone around, like neighbors, how unsupportive and dramatic I am by yelling things like, "Don't touch me," when I try to calm him. He'll yell that my shaking is fake, that my tears are crocodiles, and that I'm manipulating everyone into thinking I'm a victim. I don't talk about this to anyone. I only have one friend and she has a family, and the time we spend together, I'd like to be positive. Oh yeah, and he removed a condom twice without my consent. I stopped being intimate with him after that, and he has physically hurt me, but by accident, when angry and on alcohol 3 times, and most definitely kicked me out when we were dating to phone other women who he referred to later when confronted about it as sweethearts and also disgustingly ugly. I can almost hear your fairy pencil circling this whole paragraph. Okay, here we go. I'm going to circle the whole paragraph. You can see my eyebrows are like, what? What? Circle, 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 circle. Okay. All right. His past consists of alcoholic parents who enable and or don't listen to him. A suicide on alcohol by his best friend at the time. Another one later, and verbal and mental abuse at the hands of what seems like almost all his family. A stint in a hospital of some hidden sort. Multiple arrests for resisting and DUIs. Oh, just writing it, I'm cringing. There is no way I'd let a daughter of mine deal with this. I'm 41 and been in 3 long-term abusive alcoholic relationships where I was cheated on and used as a babysitter. I had codependent and alcoholic parents, both with narcissistic traits, but overall loving, and they tried. Oh, I almost forgot. One parent cheated on the other since I was 2, and apparently I'd sit on one's lap as they argued about it. I also have a pretty hard-to-shake eating disorder and other unhealthy traits. What do I do, Anna? He is verbally abusive, moody as hell, yet going through one of the worst times in his life. Depressed, no money, friend possibly leaving him forever. Me too. I think she means she might leave him too. Turmoil in his mind, nightmares, etc. When he says mean things, I say, why don't you focus on friends you love and trust instead of me? Yet he'll ignore it and act nice for a few days and then resume his rather narcissistic habits to the point where I cry. And I'm not a crier. I'm a stifler and a flighter. He's threatened to blow his head off. He's overdosed on depression medicine he briefly took with a ton of liquor and had to call the ambulance, who put me on his I'm okay show for, and not to sound wimpy, but walking in on him that ambulance night has caused issues with my own mental health, along with the utter confusion at the nice/mean cycles, the gaslighting. Thank you for teaching me, Casey says. Jumping at slightest sound, keeping lights off, and leaving car down the street. So he thinks I'm not home, depression, inability to function normally, lots of staring and procrastinating, thinking maybe my reality isn't real, etc. How do I support him? And then in parentheses, and myself, I add during the final review of this letter, during his time of need without being codependent, or hurting him further by omitting myself from his life. I've tried for 4 months to get a few days of space and a legit breakup/friendship. And I've told him he can't treat me like that and expect me to stay around. I can say it, but I feel awful for not being there for him right now, for not at least saying I love you and good night. I feel like such a total jerk. What if he actually needs a hug? He rarely will give me one when I ask, but what if he does right now? I'm always up for a hug and love. I'm torn. Could you please advise? Again, thank you. Just writing this and feeling myself cringe has helped. Casey. Okay. Oh, this is one of the most painful letters I've read. Because Casey, I think that you may have really, really lost touch with reality here. And so, I want to give you some really tough love, but I realize that I think you might be in a very delicate state. And I'm going to try to make it really gentle. And first, I'm just going to say, I do understand. I'm going to ask everybody here who comments, go easy on her. It doesn't help anybody to get shamed about this. She asked, I have to admit a little bit when I read this, I wondered if I was being punked. Just because it made no sense that you're saying, how do I support him and myself? It sounded like a caricature of somebody who's so codependent they can't see the thing that's right in front of them. So let's just go through it. I'm going to tell you what you said. I'm just going to take you at face value that this is really what you're suffering with. Okay. So for 1.5 years, dated a man on and off. Okay, those are keywords. On and off dating. With all the crap going on here, you're talking about a trauma bond. So you do have the most extreme case of codependence I've ever witnessed. You're not in my life, but reading this, I don't think I've ever quite seen anything this extreme. I'm sure it's there. But there's also a trauma bond there. And a trauma bond and codependence together can be deadly, literally. So I want you to take what I'm saying really seriously. So you say he has a liquor/alcohol addiction. And so as somebody who has spent a lot of time around alcoholics, both drinking and sober, and gone to at least 1,000 open AA meetings and years of Al-Anon, I will just say that my observation is when people won't say the word alcoholism, they're in denial, okay? What liquor/alcohol addiction, liquor and alcohol, same thing. So is beer, by the way, when you say, but also he treats you bad on beer. It sounds to me like you have a very limited knowledge of what alcoholism is. So first thing I'm going to tell you is just get yourself to Al-Anon. Al-Anon is for people affected by other people's drinking, and it will help you to understand what the heck is going on and what can and can't be done for somebody. You have a very skewed idea of like what the problem is, where your energy belongs, what can be done about it. And that's a program where you can learn about that. There's like every 12-step program could be helpful in this case, but I would say go there, at least so you first understand alcohol so you can stop worrying. There's literally nothing you can do about his drinking, so I'm just going to tell you right now, and about his alcoholic behavior. You can't change him. And all this energy you spent trying for a year and a half, I'm sorry to tell you, you threw that time away, but it's not too late to stop, okay? He has a liquor/alcohol addiction. However, he can still treat you horribly with beer, a lack of sleep, stress, or you setting boundaries. So in other words, what you're saying is he's an abusive alcoholic. And I would like you to just say that aloud to yourself. He is abusive and he's an alcoholic. All right. That may help frame it for you. That will help take away all the little hiding places you're trying to find with this long rationale of like what you think. It's just like you're rationalizing so much here. So interestingly, abusive alcoholic, like you had me at abusive alcoholic. Of like, yeah, what are you still doing there another minute? All right, that's the question here. So I'm going to read through everything you said, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it here. 95% of what you wrote is about him. You wrote about 2% about yourself and about 2% about his friend who's dying. And you had a lot more detail and awareness of suffering of the friend who's dying. And for yourself, you were just like, oh, eating disorder, and I'm kind of codependent, and you glossed right over who you are. And you know, if you've watched any of my videos, you know what's going to happen, Casey. I don't even care about this guy. I care about you. You are writing and asking for help. And what I'm going to tell you is all about getting all your focus and getting it right onto yourself on the one thing where you have the power to make a difference. You can't do anything about this guy. I know the fantasy. You know, I started out this video talking about I know what it's like, just one last hurdle. If I could just get him to understand this one thing, you know, that this love is waiting for you. But that is your childhood trauma telling you completely bad dreams. It's just a bad dream. It's just this idea like that love is here. It couldn't possibly be anywhere else. It's here and you just have to fight this battle and win it. I know what it's like. I know what it's like, but that's what I'm for here. I got the pencil, I got my big mouth, and I give you the tough love and just, I read your own words to you. Okay, so you said, hot and cold, Jekyll and Hyde, love bomby, discardy, quote, relationship. And then he says, you're saving me, I want to heal you. So yeah, those are codependent seduction lines, really. Oh, it's working, you're saving me. Well, I just want to point out, Casey, you haven't saved him. And I'm just sort of being silly here, but saying you've done a terrible job of saving him. He's a mess. You failed. So it's good. You can quit your job now. You know, it's not going to work. And it couldn't have worked. So don't worry. That idea that hook that you could save him, you know, I'm pretty sure it comes back. I think I had that, you know, I always felt like if I could be loving and nice enough, the person who was angry and suffering and mean and cruel to me, that they would come around. And there's, you know, that's like a legend in my mind of something that can happen. And it's like hitting your head against a wall. It's a very sad thing because all the love that you were ever going to get in life, you've just sacrificed it to just keep trying to get it out of this like terrible, ugly graffiti wall of crap. You know, there's no love here. All the love that you were going to get, you already had from this guy, and now it's just grief. It's grief and cruelty. And some part of you thinks you can shut that down. You can close your feelings off. You're being heroic. It's like, that's just, your trauma is just lying to you. And it's lying to you pretty bad. You know, I'm hearing just little hints of awareness here. When you say you're cringing, you can hear the fairy pencil. Like, you know, on some level, this is like, it's not real, what you're pursuing here. It's not real. I don't hear any evidence. Even if this guy, like, all he ever did was say he loved you, his problems are too great. This is not, you know, you don't have a big commitment to him. It's just somebody you've been seeing and sleeping with. That's all it is. and it's somebody who's treated you terribly and who's been unreliable and brought pain and drama. And you're saying you've had 3 now, abusive alcoholic relationships. So I just want to bring crystal clear into your mind, the problem here is you. The problem is your attraction to these terrible people who treat you badly. There's some kind of, some people call it repetition compulsion. Some people call it masochism. It doesn't matter what you call it. All that matters is that you stop it. You stop it at all costs. But I'll go through your letter. I'm just going to help you keep hearing what you said. You said that he alternated these things with, you saved me and I want to heal you. He alternated it with, and he's funny and intelligent. And you thought if only he could use his manipulation tactics for good. That is a codependent thought if I ever heard one. If only he used his giant cannon for good, whatever. Can't be done. That's not what cannons are for. They're not for good. They're for destroying things. I hear myself saying often, the best things he said are trumped by, I want to beat you to death in your sleep. Girl, I think you got to get out of there like right now. I think you have to get out. When you hear words like that and your denial is thinking that somehow they're kind of outweighed by when he says, I'm going to heal you. Has he healed you? Are you healed? Or you've described to me the symptoms of somebody who's in a constant state of complete deterioration, anxiety, and delusion. I don't think you're doing very well. Okay, so when he says, I want to beat you to death in your sleep, out the door. And there's a telling thing here later, I'll get to it. You also said he said this stuff about cheating, and then he denies he said it. That's what they always do. Don't worry. 4-day rocky period if you bring it up. So then you trained yourself, I won't bring it up. I'll pretend it didn't happen. I don't want him to be mad because I might hurt him and I got to help him. Just calling you out here, Casey. This is quite serious. So due to your codependent and mushy and unsure nature, I'm still in the thralls of this person. However, it's getting worse despite less time together. Okay, it's getting worse. There's your sign. All right, there's your sign. Out. It's getting worse. You know what happens in abusive relationships as they're getting worse? They escalate. They escalate to something worse, and you must be out of there. It's just, okay? I almost never give direct hard advice like that, but when I hear somebody in danger, I'm just saying it. Out. Cut off all contact. This is like time to go to a women's shelter if you need to. Time to get serious help every day from people who understand, okay? So you're saying, I'm still in his thrall, and this thing about his best friend having this medical problem, and I just like, okay, his best friend has a medical problem. I hear you rationalizing why you have to cling to him, and you're clinging to him. I don't hear him clinging to you. He's kind of doing he's throwing wontons at you. He's saying he wants to beat you to death. This guy is not trying to work things out with you. He's not asking you to stay, but you're inventing a reality where he's not going to be okay without you. And I want to tell you something about alcoholics or addicts or people who are very unstable, is that being in a dramatic relationship with them can actually hurt them. So remaining in a dramatic relationship with them, you don't really know how bad it could be for them, but it can be very bad. What you're describing here is somebody, he's very vulnerable, he's suicidal. Girl, he could die, and you do not want to be the agent of drama bringing that to him. You are not his source of comfort. Everything you're describing here is just like a huge drama, emotional violence, horror show, relationship. It's not good for him to be part of this. He's not in a state where he can extract himself. You haven't been in a state where you can extract himself. This is like Sid and Nancy here. So who are you going to be? What can you do about this? You can get out. And I don't want to hear, I don't know how. Yes, you do. You put your shoes on and you go and you stop calling the guy. All right? So we'll get to the details of that. So you say it's a very scary and sad time. Not for you. It's a scary and sad time for a friend of a friend, this guy. Then you say, however much I want to be there for my ex. And you say ex and boyfriend. It's all mixed up, right? There's no boundary here. There's certainly no commitment. You want to be there for him while he's there for his precarious friend. His poor friend, if that's all he's got to support him. But I don't even care about those people. We don't know them. They're not asking for help, and they're not even asking for your help. So he's become increasingly hurtful, rude, throwing things, yelling, swearing. And this is where I think you're getting a little bit like distorted thinking here, trying to really show everyone around, like neighbors, how unsupportive and dramatic I am by yelling things like, don't touch me, when I try to calm him. So I just want to tell you something. When somebody's upset, it's legitimate if they don't want to be touched. Your interpretation that he's trying to show the neighbors how unsupportive and dramatic you are, I'm just going to say that's a projection of your fear. You know, you think that if you don't get in his good graces, you have failed to be supportive and calm, that you're being unsupportive and dramatic. And truth be known, you hanging on to this relationship with all of this kind of wild energy of like you're going to fix it, it is unsupportive. It is dramatic. He doesn't need to show the neighbors anything. So he thinks that your behavior is manipulative, and codependence is manipulative. I'm not trying to like take his side or anything. He sounds really like such a big bummer that he thinks you're trying to manipulate everyone into thinking you're a victim. I think you have classic behavior of thinking like he's the designated patient and you're the reasonable, helpful one. That's what we do. That's what I have done when I've been in a somewhat similar situation. It's a delusion that we're just doing such a great thing for somebody, but actually we are right there in the trenches being just as whack, you know? It's a big mess. There really is no way out of it except, you know, sometimes by intervention, if you have friends to intervene. You told me, I only have one friend. That is so normal for somebody who's in this type of relationship, an abusive relationship. One friend, and you don't tell her. You claim because you're trying to keep it positive. You're not telling her because you're trying to be nice or something. But I know why you're not telling her. You're hiding. You're hiding how messed up everything is. And I know this. I've been there. You know, like I know, because you told me, you read this to me, and you have this veil of anonymity on you, thankfully. But now you can hear this from me. You know, you're hiding because you're ashamed. Because anyone who could see what you're doing can see that you're doing a terrible thing to yourself and to your life. Anyone can see it, okay? And I say that with all the love I can say of having been that girl. I've done that, and I hid from everybody. And it's horrible because what happens when you're in an abusive relationship, and I mean a relationship where abuse is occurring, like I just don't see you as like, I just see you as having infinite choice not to be in this situation, but you're attached to an abuser and you're abusing yourself in effect. And when you're doing that, you're blotting out all friends. What's going to happen is when all of this falls apart, and it may have to be him who ends it if you won't, it'll end because he died, or it'll end because he finally does something so bad that you can't possibly go back, or he won't have you back. Like if that's what it's going to take, because that's what trauma bonds and codependence together create, it's like an impossible escape. So if that's what happens, you'll be there at one of the worst moments in your life needing a friend, and you don't have a friend, and you were hiding from everybody what was really going on, having a fake relationship with them. This is where having CPTSD starts to get extremely dangerous, because when you have CPTSD and you have no support or nobody you can be honest with, your mind can take the trauma and kind of spin it up into something more than it is. This is where things can get violent. They can get where people like try to like publicly harm each other, make everybody think things about them. And I'm just going to recommend to you, because you wrote, I think you're like, you know, you're drowning and you're reaching up. And my hand is here going, come on, honey. Casey, it's time to come out. It's time to come out. And it's going to feel like withdrawal at first. It's going to be really hard. And your CPTSD and your codependence will, and the trauma bond will go like, I have to go back. I can't possibly feel okay on the planet Earth unless I'm back in this thing. And your mind will tell you, it's not because of me, it's because of him. He needs me. Oh, he'll die without me. It's just like, I'm just telling you right now, that's not what's really happening. This is what trauma brain tells you under these circumstances. And so there have to be other people helping you. And every time you go there, they can help bring you back. Now, hardly anybody, and especially if you've been in an abusive relationship, I'm going to bet you're not in good financial shape. I'm not hearing that you have a therapist or anywhere to go. So here's what you have. You have 12-step groups. They're free. They happen every day. You'll be very welcome there. What you're going through is so normal for somebody who grew up. You had an alcoholic and codependent mom. There was cheating, and they held you on their lap while they fought about it. You know, if I were a little girl and I were sitting on a lap with parents fighting about infidelity, you know what I would do? I would disassociate and I would pretend everything was okay. And that's what you're doing now. That's what you learned to do so well. And it's good you learned as a child, because it helped you survive that and have a spirit intact. But now is the time to stop that behavior. You don't dissociate, you stay present, you go, ow, when this person is abusive to me, it hurts and ruins my life. I will take myself out. When you were a kid, you couldn't leave, but now you can. So I'm just talking sense to you. I totally know what it's like. Trauma bond and codependence together. I totally know what it's like. Like your mind will not admit that that's good, and physical symptoms will come on. You'll have headaches, your body will ache, you'll be exhausted, but I promise you it will pass. If you know that that's coming and you can go, oh, this is what it is, it's withdrawal, because you know, we are physiological beings. Our trauma wounds are at the level of our nervous system, and trying to govern our nervous systems is a lot what drives us into these bad relationships, because it's so, you know, it can be like so like deadening and so depressing to not have that dramatic stimulation going on. And so sometimes a dramatic relationship, that's what feels like. It feels big, it feels like fireworks, it feels like love. That's what we knew, right? But it's not love, it's drama, and in your case it's abuse. Abuse, drama, addiction. Addiction to the relationship. That's what the trauma bond is. So it's okay. And just like, you know, just like any addiction, it's not your fault. You didn't ask to have this wound happen to you. It's not your fault. Your symptoms are very, very normal for a girl who that happened to, who grew up to do this. So I want you to just like, you know, see if you can detach a little bit from the shame and acknowledge, yeah, it's going to hurt. I'm going to go through withdrawal. And then line up your support to make your exit. I promise you this relationship is not getting better. It's not going to turn into the love you crave. And the love you crave is possible for you, but the longer you stay in an abusive relationship, the more healing is going to take. Like, let's say you had a year of healing before this relationship. Now maybe you have 2 years of healing before you can do it. Like, get out. Let's get on with the healing phase so you can move on to the happy phase and the love phase of life. Life is short. Actually, life feels kind of long to me. But you don't want to spend another day suffering like this in a way that's just deteriorating your spirits and causing you to have strange mind warps. Because one day you're going to meet somebody healthy, and you're going to want to have a nice, good mind and be able to show up with an open heart and clear thinking and worthy of that good relationship that you crave. So that's coming for you. But first you have to get the poison out, and you are sitting in a vat of poison right now. Okay. So you told me about his background. He had this, he had that, he had this bad stuff happen. Right, But he's not in your life anymore. He's your ex. I want to tell you a secret. I don't know if you've seen many of my videos, but this is my suggestion to everybody with CPTSD who has attachment wounds, who finds themselves in bad relationships. Once you break up, this is what you do. You don't have contact with them anymore. There's no such thing as an ex/friend. There's no such thing. It's a such thing for people who have no emotions about somebody, who have a common purpose with them, but you do not have neutral energy towards him. You do not have a healthy attitude. It's a fantasy that you could just like use words and say, now we're just friends. And, you know, judging by my own time in this kind of headspace, I'm going to guess you didn't even mean it when you said just be friends. Probably a lot of things you say are just to try to see if you can get him to activate his desire to save the relationship. I don't think you want to be friends with him. I think you're in love with him. And I understand. That's what we do. But if you want to heal from that, just sick, life-destroying love that you feel, and you know what? It's not love, by the way. It's the closest thing to love that you can imagine right now, but there's a such thing as real love, and it's on the other side of this for you, and it cannot begin till you get out and take your time to heal. And healing, you know, people say a lot of different things about it. They say it's going to take a long time, and what always discouraged me as a person with CPTSD is people say, you know, you have to finally face your childhood trauma. It's like, okay, I'm well aware of my childhood trauma. Well, how come I'm not better yet? I have never had luck just facing it or talking about it. I use specific concrete techniques. I work with my nervous system. I then take on the terrible life problems that I created for myself while living life with a dysregulated nervous system. And I teach that stuff. You can come into my program. We have like an inner circle of members where people help each other and have Zoom meetings, and there's like 4 meetings a day that people are leading just among the peers, and then I lead calls. There's stuff you could do, and if you have other things that you think might be helpful, check that out. Like, get busy. All the energy you're putting into this relationship, if you could put that into recovery, you'd be doing it full time. I can hear you're full-time engaged with this terrible situation. You say, what do I do? And this is where I thought that maybe this was a trick letter, because it's like, I just feel like, did you really think I would have some sage advice for how to get him to be where you want him to be, that he would just realize that you're great and he would stop drinking and become something? Like, I have nothing for that. I wish I did. I have a lot of people in my life who have died from this disease. And if I could have saved him, I would have. I have nothing for you, and nobody does. People who have alcoholism, they can recover, and they do it because of the help of another alcoholic who talks to them about it in a way they can relate. And it's a long process. And for you, you might be like me. You've done it enough times and you've seen what it does to your life. If you ever take my dating course, I'm going to have you first thing, write down exactly what you want and what you need in a relationship and what's a deal breaker. And whether you see it now or not, I'm going to encourage you to put down, cannot now and never can have had an alcohol problem. Like, I think recovering alcoholics can be wonderful partners, especially if they've got some time. For you and me, no. I just would say that's been a pattern so many times, you know where it leads. And here's the thing, because twice I've been with partners who were recovered, but then they relapsed. And I totally forgot about that could happen. And at the time they relapsed, I would have to say there was a lot of drama going on. You know, there were ways that they were letting me down, I was upset, we were arguing. That's very stressful for somebody with an addiction or alcoholism. It's no one else's fault that they drink or, overdose. But you don't want to be the person who is having an argument with them the day that happens. That's not a good feeling. It's not good karma. And I would just say, given that this is a vulnerable area for you, just block it out. Your CPTSD will tell you no love is possible. There's no love, only love. The only thing I'll ever have is this guy, and I have to like work it out with him. It's a lie. There will come a day, trust me, you won't think about that guy, and when you do, you'll just go, oh, I can't, oh, what a terrible year and a half of my life. Oh, that was so unhappy. That will be the thing that you get to let go of, not your life, not your future, not your happiness, not your story, not your awareness. You said you had an eating disorder. That's a big deal. People who have an eating disorder, that's a serious struggle and deserves your top attention. It's your top attention. It's not going to go away because somebody else changes their behavior. That is trauma-driven codependent thinking. I will be happy if I can get them to change. I'm going to put a video at the end of this that talks about what I really think about that. I kind of mince no words about what I think that is, having taken that thinking all the way to the end of the road where the person dies. Okay? I'm trying to give you a cautionary warning here. Don't go there. Don't take it that far. You can get out now with a minimal of damage, and I recommend it. Okay. So, yeah, there's more stories. He says this, he says that, as if you're trying to convince me he's being unfair. Of course he is. He's awful. What a nightmare. Blah. And you say you're not a crier, you're a stifler and a flighter. I see that. That's how you coped with it before. That's how you're coping with it now. Stifling is deadly, though. That's how we crap fit and we accept abusive behavior, is just stifle the feelings about it. And then don't tell anybody. Whatever you do, don't tell anybody, because they're going to say what I'm saying. Girl, you got to get out, right? Which you don't want to hear, because right now your CPTSD believes, if you're like me, it's not fully conscious, but trust, I don't know, see if you identify with this. It feels like you will die if you leave the relationship. That's an abandonment wound doing the talking, okay? You're not going to die at all. You'd be fine. But you need love. You need love and support from women friends who understand what this is, which you can find in 12-step meetings, Al-Anon, or maybe Sex and Love Addicts. So your question, there was this little irony here. How do I support him? I don't know if you, at this point, you've heard me say so much intense stuff in your face, but you do not support him. That is not your job. It's not appropriate. When you say that, that's when you sound to me like you've had a break with reality. You don't support him. He's throwing wontons at your head. Okay? He says he's threatening violence. He's throwing you out. It's just, You don't support him. It's not your job. You can't. You're ineffective. You're a terrible supporter. I think sometimes that's what got through to me, is when people would point out what a terrible job I was doing. If I believed that I was helping somebody keep it together, I sure had another think coming, because look at that person. They weren't together. So you're not good at this. So step back. Take all that energy. You know who your job is? You know the answer, right? It's you. Your life is a mess right now. And this is a beautiful moment when you get to go, oh gosh, yes, this has been like horrible. I need it to be better. I need it to be easier. I need people. I need to feel hope. I need people to just say kind things and give me a little validation. So here you are. Welcome, Casey. Welcome, welcome to the beautiful warm waters of kind people who believe in your recovery and want to help you do it. But this is what it looks like. You can't start recovering while you're engaged in this trauma-bonded, codependent, bad dream that all your energy has to go into saving somebody who's just going down the tubes. You cut off contact. You don't contact them at all. No explanation is needed. You change your locks. Move away if you have to. I'm telling you, your life can't turn out well. If this is your third one, there's going to be a fourth one. Please stop now. Do whatever it takes. Change whatever you need to change about your life. Take some time off. Get public assistance if you need to. Get to the meetings. Like, put yourself first. For the first time in your life, put your healing first. Do whatever it takes to put your healing first and pop out of this so that you can begin to sprout like a little dandelion coming through the cracks in the sidewalk. There's just been this terrible period where there's so much you didn't say about your life, but I can imagine. It's hollow. It's not going anywhere. There's probably something, maybe you have a job where you get some self-esteem or something, but you can't even feel your own thoughts because there's this huge wall of codependent, trauma-bonded crazy happening, just playing in front of your eyes all day long. So you walk away, and then your true feelings and your true perceptions can begin to come back. And it feels good. It feels really good. You just need some help to get through the hard spells, which might be a lot for the first couple weeks, and then it just comes in waves. You'll have pain, you'll cry, you'll be like, I want to go back. And then you'll be like, no, I'm going to call my friend. I feel like going back. And your friend goes, don't go back. And you go, I know. And she says, come on, let's go get some tea. Let's go sit down. Let's go have a walk. Let's go to the movie. Let's go put on warm socks. Whatever it is that you need to just be comforted through those moments, and then it passes. That's what CPTSD is like. It's like these waves that just tell you weird stories. And right now you're in the middle of a tsunami. It's not your fault. And you're not crazy. There's actually nothing wrong with you. The symptoms have gotten the better of you. So this part at the end where you say you feel so bad that he might need a hug, that he never hugged you, but he might need one and you want to be there. So, I'm just going to venture to say, whenever you have this thought about him, like, poor him, he needs a hug, just say, that's my CPTSD distorting something when the thought really is, I need a hug. I need a hug. And you don't need a hug from your abuser. You need a hug from somebody who is kind and caring and never yells at you or throws anything at you. And that would be women who are on the journey of healing with you. And perhaps a therapist if you can afford it. So I wish you well. And I wish you Godspeed to make this difficult, perilous journey out of a relationship that has a grip on your brain. But you can do it. I did it. So many people here did it. And just come on in. The water's just fine. It feels very good. And it's going to turn out so much better. And you'll only be able to experience it when you give it a try. If you're watching and you think you might be codependent, you might be suffering from a trauma bond, I've got links below to direct you to free tools as well as paid programs that I offer. And here I have a video lined up for you that is about telltale signs that you might be in a codependent relationship. And I'll see you very soon.